both my brothers and my parents, they forced me to go see a doctor. And when I got there, I got the rude awakening.
Yeah.
I was sitting on the table. My hands were blue and purple. I was so cold. I was in long sleeves and jackets, and it was 90 degrees outside. And they took my heart rate, and it was 40 beats, and I was like sweating, but cold at the same time. And they're like, yeah, something's not right. So they called a paramedic in. They said, we have an ambulance downstairs. We're going to rush you to the emergency room if you don't tell us what's going on.
Welcome to Positive Recovery MD. If you're listening, chances are you want to create happiness around you and thrive in your life. We're glad you're here and you've come to the right place. This podcast will inspire and motivate you to not merely survive your recovery journey. We'll give you the tools to build or strengthen your foundation to thrive and flourish in your life. In each episode, we will come together as a community to have authentic conversations around addiction, recovery, and what matters, growth and progress, not perfection, all while developing positive habits for you to utilize. To learn more, please visit positiverecovery.com/podcasts to sign up and to receive the daily positive interventions that we'll review, as well as gain access to exclusive Positive Recovery content available only to Positive Recovery MD listeners. All right, let's get started.
Hello, and welcome to Positive Recovery MD. If you're new here, I'm your host, Dr. Jason Powers. In each episode, we cover a variety of topics in the recovery space, including positive psychology, best practices for a successful life journey. And today we're talking about holistic wellness. And I've got a couple of guests that will tell you a little bit about themselves. But first, I'll say that I've been going to the same gym now for a couple years, but I've seen these guys. They're twins, Zach and Sean Pappert. And, I kind of categorize a lot of people into like sunspots or black holes. Black holes like the Eeyore personality, just kind of maybe sucks the life out of a room or conversation. And the opposite, sunspots are just, spread goodness. That sounds really platitudinal. However, I didn't really know them. They helped my son and I work on some leg press once. And I thought, man, that's so helpful. This guy just took seriously like 30, 45 minutes out of his intense workout. Because I think at the time, one of you who was doing like power leg lifting had these legs like Earl Campbell. And my son was starting to play basketball. And, for a stranger who's obviously involved in what they do and is involved in a workout, I thought that was great. And when I heard that you guys had both eating disorders, one from, the anorexia extreme, one from maybe the binge extreme. And I thought I could exploit these two kids. I'm just kidding. I thought, man, that makes them even more interesting and valuable for our listeners. So welcome.
Thank you for having us on and allowing us to share our story. I know we came across each other at the gym. I was in the corner and Zach walked by and he's like, should I go over there and just like say hi? Like I saw them, like it's a father-son combo working out. That's how we started. Like go over there and say hi.
Yeah.
Zach walked over and I
walked over. I think I taught y'all how to do some box squats and everything like that. And it was a good day in the gym.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's our favorite thing to do is helping people in the gym and giving people that energy, because gym can be a really intimidating place. Like injuries happen, but you could also have like a make or break. Like for us, it made us who we are today. So that's why we love the gym. That's why we love fitness.
Yeah. Talk about that. How are we supposed to know it's made you who you are? Like paint us a picture.
So MEEF stands for motivating everyone to enjoy fitness. The brand itself started in 2017, but I would say our stories probably go back to when we were probably 13 years old. That's when we were
truly struggling with our body weight. We were
in our body image the most.
Mm-hmm. We were both, we got called Tweedledee, Tweedledum a lot growing up in middle school. We were both chubby kids and we had our fair share of like headbutting, which made it even more entertaining for everyone.
Yeah. So it actually was, both of us had, I would say, disordered eating. It was definitely more on like the binging side where we'd be really restrictive at times. And then it would get to be eat whatever you want. Yeah. Eat the fridge, go out to eat, get whatever you can because that's your chance. And Zach kind of was at the time playing tennis and I was at the time playing football, which in football, it's not discouraged to eat a lot. And in tennis, you want to be quick and nimble. So,
So as I was on my tennis journey, I was starting to play very competitive tennis. So practicing 4 or 5 hours a day. And as that started to happen, I started to notice that as a result of playing more tennis, I was not eating as much either. And then kind of just being around my teammates, I kind of realized like what they were eating too. And so weight loss started happening. That was just a result of working out more and eating less. But compliments started flooding in. As the weight started flooding off, compliments flooded in. And it kind of led me down an affirmation chamber where I thought weight loss was good, skinnier is better. And it spiraled down to where I was not eating anymore.
It was like an athletic induced anorexia almost. And while all of that's going on, the opposite was happening on my end. Like people were coming up to me saying, your brother's making all of this change. Like, why not you? Like your brother's getting skinny. Like, why aren't you? And then it got to the point where it wasn't so healthy weight loss anymore. And it was more on the concerning side. Like, why is Zach so skinny?
I basically stopped playing tennis at some point down the road. I literally was not putting enough food in my system to really function at all. So I wasn't playing tennis anymore. I wasn't going out to be social. I was really not doing good in school anymore. So something was definitely up, and people were starting to take a notice to that.
Yeah, it got to the point where at times people were coming up to me saying, like, is your brother really cold? Like he wears jackets and it's 110 degrees outside. Like, do we need to be like aware of Zach? Like, is he cutting himself? Like, it got very, very intense and very intrusive questions. I think it was just
right. Like, what are you hiding?
Right.
I think it's also a unique situation when you're identical twins on opposite sides, and people don't feel like it's a hard question to ask you. Like, why is your brother like that?
When I really wasn't able to even talk to Zach about that kind of struggle because he didn't know how to talk about it. He was I would say that's a young age where you're so internalized and you're developing your mindset of who you are, individuality, and what people see you as. And I didn't know how to ask that question to Zach at that time. So he was kind of going through it alone while we were both going through the whole
figuring it out
together.
Yeah.
So
yeah. How old are you guys now?
Now we're 26. So this was a little over 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, even 10 years ago, mental health awareness was not at where it is today. So you guys probably didn't have the vocabulary words to even approach each other.
I had no idea. And then even when I looked up anorexia or any eating disorders, it only came up with girls. And so I automatically, as a 15-year-old, 14-year-old boy, was shooting that down. I was not going to go get help. The same way.
What's that?
In my mentality now, I have nothing against it. And that's kind of why we like sharing our story, because we want other people and other young boys to know that it is out there and that it is a struggle that all men go through. But it was kind of like, and at the time I was very stubborn in my ways and I didn't really want to go get help that way.
Yeah, no, I think it's invaluable because a lot of suffering would otherwise be avoided if people had role models like you.
Yeah.
It's and it normalizes it because you're right. We all struggle with just about everything, but the whole like snowflake, that the anti-awareness culture, I get on one hand, we have to take personal responsibility for everything. On the other hand, what you had was fatal. It's potentially fatal, really 100%. Like it's very dangerous to have the type of restrictive eating disorder you described. And you guys are floundering around for however long it took. Were you finally intervened on?
Yeah, I was. It was with the help of both my brothers and my parents. They forced me to go see a doctor. And when I got there, I got the rude awakening.
Yeah.
I was sitting on the table. My hands were blue and purple. I was so cold. I was in long sleeves and jackets, and it was 90 degrees outside. And they took my heart rate, and it was 40 beats, and I was like sweating, but cold at the same time. And they're like, yeah, something's not right. So they called a paramedic in. They said, we have an ambulance downstairs. We're going to rush you to the emergency room if you don't tell us what's going on. So I just had to lay it out there. And the doctor gave me a very stern, just straight up answer. Like, hey, you're about to kill yourself, right? Like, what you're doing to yourself. Like, I know you're not stupid. You've done this to yourself for the last year. You know what's going on. And then gave me the reality like, hey, we can either send you to a eating recovery clinic and they can control your life, or you can take control of your life the way you have and fix it. And we'll give you the tools to fix it.
And I remember Zach coming home that day, and I could tell that something had changed within him. He had finally seen himself as an athlete. And I think at that moment he realized, like, it's not about now only, it's about the rest of my life. And how do I want to build my life? How do I want to build my mindset? And how do I want to tell my story? And if he saw himself as an athlete, the only thing to do was to perform at the highest level. And because of that, he started eating the best. He started training the hardest. He started performing the best he could in school. And I think that was Zach's like big turning moment. And because I saw that in him, I realized that I have that same potential and I have that same power. So maybe Zach is my inspiration at that moment to flip the switch. But seeing his change mentally and physically was the biggest inspiration for me to start like my own, like, take control of your eating disordered eating.
It's funny you say that too, because I feel like I wouldn't have realized the extent of where I was if it wasn't for him being truly like on the opposite side. Like, I would not have realized how far down this extent of extreme I was.
I don't know if you would say the same thing, but it got to moments where, like, I would never take my shirt off until I was 18 years old. He'd say the same thing, except in front of Zach to flex or whatever. And during that time, I was my biggest and he was his skinniest. And I saw myself as him and he saw himself as me. Yeah. When we were both at our biggest extremes, which is
wow.
Yeah. It was 185 pounds and like 85 pounds.
Holy moly. And just for our listeners, or, you can't picture this, but how tall are you guys?
We're 5'5".
But we have humongous biceps, the largest leg.
but still 185 on 5'5", even in perfect shape. Like, and then 85. Yeah. Wow. I don't share this often, and it's a long time ago, so I don't want to like bum you out or shock you, but I had an older brother, 2 years my senior, and I followed him to St. John's. I followed him to Texas, like my best friend ever. And he passed away from dilated cardiomyopathy that was caused from, during his adolescence, going on long starvation binges.
Wow.
And we see that in like prisoners of war that are starved, and what you were doing. And when I say like super dangerous, like, you are very, very lucky. And I'm in a good place with my brothers. So I'm just sharing that because, like, every moment that you have now is a gift, but you guys live that way and you spread the message to others. People heard the word MEEF and you said what it stood for, but it's MEEF Fitness, right? And it sort of talk about that, and how would people get in touch with you?
Yeah, because to us, MEEF is more than just sharing our story. It's about
building a community,
empowering others and building a community and helping others kind of avoid the same mistakes we did, but also helping them find their passion and become 1% better. That's our mantra. That's what we live like with every day. It's to get better, 1% better every day. And then MEEF, like you said, is more than just a fitness thing. It's a mentality.
We apply to every aspect of our lives, exactly. Like from the career that we're doing, our 9 to 5, to the fitness side. But our goal, like Zach said, is to inspire people to find whatever their fitness is, whatever their outlet is, to go be mentally and physically better. Like, we want to empower people to find their passion and take it to the biggest extreme. So things that we've tried to do to show people that is through bodybuilding and through competitive eating. So we've done both of the extremes. We've done a natural bodybuilding show, and then we went and did major league eating. So during bodybuilding prep, I reached out to the owners that do, or the people that run Nathan's hot dog eating competition every year. And I wrote them a story about the first twins ever to compete in a major league eating event. And they're like, we're sold. So they invited us out to the sausage eating championship of the world. And it's just,
no way.
It's just extremes, like the quirky things, but we wanted to show people that whatever your passion is, whether it's watching birds or hiking or chopping wood, like, go do it and enjoy it and have fun with it, because that's the most important thing.
So what do you guys think are the top 3 errors people make in trying to live their best life? Like, how do you direct people most? Are there like common things that people sort of, they make goals that aren't 1%. They're like, I'm going to do everything today. What are 3 things? What are the top 3 things you redirect people on?
Pennies in the bank. So small goals to lead up to your big achievement. I think that's a huge one. So think like, oh, this has to get all done all at this moment in time. It's okay if it takes a while, as long as you just are putting pennies in the bank.
100%. I would say another one is not a lack of self-confidence and not an overconfidence, but a humble confidence. That perfect middle where you can be the master of what you know and be comfortable with what you don't know. But you have so that when you can ask somebody that does know something, be confident and be humble that they might know something that you don't know yet, or perspective.
Yeah, I like that one a lot. It's having that student mindset. And then the third one that I think is comparison is the thief of joy. So as twins, it's so damn easy to compare every aspect of everything with each other, whether it's
the way we eat the exact same, we train the exact
same.
Facial
hair, is your hair growing the same? Yeah, everything. Like,
oh wow,
think about it. And you can compare that with identical twins, but you have to learn how to not.
Yeah, we've talked about it a few times. There's a key moment as identical twins where you can have that make or break moment where you embrace the idea of being similar and having your differences, or you try to be as different as possible.
Right. Yeah, that could be the unhealthy extreme also. Sean and Zach Pappert, thank you guys with meeffitness.com. Check them out and talk to you guys later.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Positive Recovery MD. Don't forget to visit positiverecovery.com/podcast to sign up to get your daily positive interventions sent straight to your inbox. Be sure to subscribe to Positive Recovery MD on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to your podcasts to receive an automatic download when a new episode drops. And as always, if you or someone you know needs help, visit positiverecovery.com or call 877-4-SOBRIETY. That's 877-476-2743. Our why is simple. We care. We are here to help.
There's a new clinical diagnosis for the phenomenon, like at night where you can't sleep and you just eat and eat and eat. Mm-hmm. You know what it's called?
No.
Insomnia.
Yeah. Like that. That's hilarious.
You got to put that on a shirt.